Good morning, everyone, and welcome you all to our AABN's 156th weekly webinar. It's heartwarming to see a happy bunch of participants on a Sunday morning. Welcome to you all for responding to our call and being here. AABN began as a fledgling outfit to connect professionals on a proactive platform to exchange useful information and contacts. Also became an informal avenue to meet and listen to game changers from various domains through these interactive sessions. Thanks to the strong work fundamentals, clear goals, and wonderful camaraderie on which this network was built, we grew in leaps and bounds. Over the past 3 years, we have been able to put together online programs to keep our AABN community not just engaged, but also meet a range of inspiring people who can help shape our ideas and thoughts. Today, we have one such personality, Ms. Deepa Chandrasekaran, founder and CEO at Engage to Transform. I extend a very warm welcome to Deepa Chandrasekaran for coming here and willing to impart her expertise to our AABN community. Hope today proves to be a very fruitful day to all present. Let me start with a famous quote by Edwin Corber. Growth is an unbounded, relentless search towards excellence. It's a dance of agility, a symphony of adaptation, and a canvas for relentless innovation. It's not mere advancement. It's our testament to constant evolution. In reimagining business growth, we go beyond mere expansion in size to a holistic vision of sustainable impact. True growth intertwines with creating significant value, fostering operational excellence, and achieving product market fitness, all while consciously addressing the positive impact we aim to achieve and the negative impact we seek to mitigate. Redefining growth as a journey of sustainable impact and value creation is vital for the future of business. It's about fostering an environment where every aspect of growth contributes to a positive, enduring legacy. I've always been told that success is measured by wealth, status, and achievements. But what if there's more to it? What if success is about finding true happiness, maintaining good health, continuously growing, and living with purpose? In this webinar, we will explore the key elements for a fulfilling life and challenge traditional notions of success. Join me as Deepa will help us redefine what it means to be successful and discover the path to a more meaningful and satisfying existence. We got an awesome speaker with fresh perspectives on redefining growth, reimagining lives, your best life blueprint to address us. Let me extend a very warm welcome to our eminent guest speaker, Deepa Chandrasekaran, to this interactive business networking session. It will take a good part of today if I had to run you through all the achievements, career acceleration and executive coach, leadership facilitator, keynote speaker, author, podcaster, and a delivery specialist with 26 years of overall experience that includes working with reputed corporates like Capgemini, HCL, DCM, and then as an entrepreneur since mid-2017. Deepa left Capgemini in June 2017 to pursue her passion of training and coaching leaders and consequently set up her own consulting firm in the field of career acceleration coaching. Since then, she has been coaching leaders from the corporate world, facilitating their career growth and progression. She is the author of the book Career Acceleration Formula that is based on the program that she has curated on career acceleration for leaders. Her vision is to enable leaders to become aware of their immense potential, own their worth, and maximize their potential to build fulfilling and inspiring careers. Deepa is passionate about learning how human mind works, human behavior and psychology, and loves to spend time reading and having deep conversations. Deepa's style, her knowledge of the topic, and her ability to engage the audience will ensure that attendees today will walk away with several key takeaways. It will ensure that your attendance at the webinar today was more than worthwhile. I'm not going to make you wait longer. We'll let Deepa take over and regale you with her astute experience and fresh ideas. Thank you, and over to you, Deepa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gopi, for that wonderful introduction. And I am again going to say that it is just my privilege and an honor to be here on a Sunday morning amidst all of you leaders from large organizations who are willing to hear about growth. I am sure you all understand growth and you have been growing organizations and yourself over the past so many years. But I'm going to share what I have learned over my existence on this planet Earth, and also my curiosity to understand growth and enable growth for a lot of leaders that I work from varied kind of organizations. So thank you so much, Gopi, for that introduction. And thank you all of you for showing your trust and just spending the time, which is the most valuable resource that we have. So thank you for the trust. And I hope that what I share will help you to move forward and keep moving forward in whichever area of the life that you are in. So thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, so like Gopi said, as I was thinking about what to talk about to such senior leaders and people who are already doing so well in the industry, a common topic that came to my mind was growth. And I'm going to share a quote that has stayed with me since I've been working on this topic and since I've been being curious and learning about growth. So the quote goes, "If you're not growing, you're dying." Very simple, isn't it? If you're not growing, you're dying. What that essentially means to me is whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not, it's not optional. And this quote really very beautifully signifies the essence of growth. What does growth mean? When are we growing? When are we not growing? Are we doing the right things? Are we not doing the right things? So in today's world, with everything evolving, everything changing, AI coming into picture, technology just changing every second day, how do we keep moving forward? Because if we are not moving forward, then we are essentially going to stagnate. And nature is such a beautiful example of that quote. Everywhere around, we see everything is growing. You cannot stop nature from growing. And when we do stop, then it starts stagnating. When we try to stop it, it starts, if you see a lake where the water is not flowing, it's stagnating, it's smelling, right? So that's the same essence of our human life, that if you're not growing, we are dying. So as we move forward, I would really like to explore growth with all of you. We would decode growth, we would demystify growth, we would redefine growth in ways that you might not have thought about it before, or even if you've thought about it, you're just reiterating what it means to me. So stay with me, enjoy as we keep moving forward and as we decoding growth, reimagining lives, and then creating a best life blueprint. And I'll talk about what that means to me and what does it really mean to lead a best life. Now, we were working on creating a quiz, and technology, like I said, it keeps changing, it keeps throwing up surprises. So here's a different way of doing a quiz. And I want all of you to answer in the chat. Just say yes or a no if you think this is growth or if you think it is not growth. So which of the following situations actually mean growth? Okay. Because I want to understand what are we feeling here? What does it mean to us before we delve deeper into my concepts and my understanding of growth? So just go to the chat and say, yes, it is. No, it is not. Okay. So here goes. The first is hitting roadblocks as I work towards my goals. Is that growth for you or is that not growth for you? Yes or no would be great. So just go ahead in the chat and say what comes to your mind. And there are no right or wrong answers here. Okay. Fantastic. So I see a lot of yeses there. So hitting roadblocks on the way to meeting our goals is growth. Okay. Let's move to the next one. Not achieving goals. So we set these goals, we set these milestones, we have these organizational KPIs, and we have to meet those P&Ls. But suppose we don't meet them. Is that still growth? What do you think? Yes or no? Okay, so I see a few no's, I see a few yeses. No, no, yeah. So there are more no's to this question than to the earlier one. Let's keep moving forward. Trying new things. Now, this is something that we all do or don't do. Let's see. So is this growth, trying new things? Yes, absolutely. Okay. The chat is going crazy. And I'm so glad you all are interacting and participating. So let's keep answering, trying new things. I see most of you are saying yes. So fantastic. Not being promoted or getting laid off. Is that growth? And I know you all are leaders of your organization. So think of your team also when you are answering these questions. What are the perceptions that they carry in their mind? And what do you usually see around these prompts? So I see a few no's here. Yeah. Not being promoted, that's like a big symptom of not growing in our society, in our organization. All right. So let's go to one more. Being appreciated and rewarded. Is that growth? Does that mean that we are growing if we are being appreciated and rewarded? Maybe, no. Oh, I see a lot of no's to this prompt. Interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts after we finish the session. Okay. Interesting. And a final one. Achieving goals. So we saw in the second prompt not achieving goals. Now I am saying achieving goals. Do you think that means growth? Yes. Okay, great, fantastic. Thank you so much for participating in this modified quiz, because we were going to do it differently and we're doing it differently. You know, that's one very core aspect of growth, that we have to evolve, we have to adapt, we have to be flexible. Not everything is going to work the way that we want. And a lot of these questions, there are no right or wrong answers, but what matters is how do we understand each of these points, and based on that, we are responding. As leaders, you must have seen the people in your organization, how are they responding? How are they reacting to some of these situations as it happens around them? So let's keep moving forward. Before we do a little bit of logistics. So if you have some paper and pen around you, some colors or something to draw with, we will do, a beautiful exercise as we keep moving. So have a paper and a pen close to you. It is also be useful to take notes if you want something that you want to go back to after this session. Bring your whole self. I know it's a Sunday morning, but I would just request your attention to what we are discussing here. A water bottle to stay hydrated and stay fresh and just enjoy being here. An open mind. Like I said, we are a product of our learned experiences. We have a lot of conditioning that has happened over the past so many years. So an open mind just helps us to stay present to what is being shared. And then we can decide to either accept it or reject it. And that's absolutely fine. Show yourself. I would love to see some of you on videos, because it helps me. It helps me with, motivates me, inspires me, because I know I'm talking to live people. So if you can, and if you are in a place which is comfortable, then I would request all of you to open your videos as well. And then let us use chat to engage like we just did, to share, to interact, to share your insights, whatever comes to your mind, and any questions that you might have, which we will take towards the end of the session. So thank you so much for being here, and just be here and enjoy what I'm going to share as we keep moving forward. So redefining growth. Now, I want you to imagine, just for a moment, stay with me and imagine if everything that we have heard about growth, the most traditional, conventional ways of measuring growth or knowing if I'm growing or not is false, is incorrect. What if everything that we have learned about growth, the meaning of growth, and how to know if you're growing or not is incorrect? What if you have been growing till now? You thought you were not, but you have been, just not the way that the society wants you to grow. So what if all of those questions are true for you? What would it really mean? Right? If our whole understanding about growth is incorrect, if the conventional ways that we've been taught about growth are actually keeping us blocked, and we've been growing but not as per the terms and conditions of what the society puts on us, how would that impact us? What would that mean to us? So just take a moment to reflect on these questions. And if something is coming up for you, feel free to put it in the chat. So if everything that we have heard about growth is incorrect, to some extent, how would that change your life? How would that impact you, the people around you, the teams around you, the organizations that you've built? What would that mean? So I'm going to take a pause to see if there are some reflections coming on chat. And if someone wants to share by talking, then just raise your hand and we'll see if we can take one or two responses to this question before we move forward. Okay. All right. You can keep reflecting on these questions as we move through the session as well. Now, what does this bring up in you? Achievement. Performance and achievement are the most talked about aspects of growth in our society. We've been conditioned to believe that if we are achieving, if we've got the best marks, we have stood first in the class, we have a great job in a branded organization, we are getting our promotions on time, we have a huge salary, a big home, driving a huge car, then we are growing, isn't it? That's what has been told to us in the conventional and traditional models of understanding growth. So achievement or performance, we need to get those medals, we need to get those trophies. To be respected in society, I need to have these things checklisted. I need to have these things ticked. And if that's not happening, then I'm not growing. That's the version of what I hear from most of the leaders that I work with. They are so desperate for growth. But when I ask them, what do you understand by growth? And this is what comes up. So achievement and performance has been equated to growth. However, based on my experience, and I'm going to share my story in just a bit, that is not growth. That's a sure, short way to feel empty, to feel unfulfilled, to feel dissatisfied. Because in spite of having everything externally, if you don't have the feeling of growing, if you don't have the feeling of being fulfilled, then it doesn't mean anything, isn't it? So, what is my story? My story, I was working in Capgemini. I've spent a lot of time, close to 13 years, as my last organization before I quit the corporate world and started my own firm. And I was doing extremely well. So I was at a great designation. I was being paid very well. My future was very bright. I was going to become a VP very, very soon. The stocks were there, everything. It was a perfect dream career for me. But then in 2017, it started from 2016, there was something missing in my life, and I didn't know what that was. But there was a calling. There was a calling to do something more, to contribute in more impactful ways. And that kept going on in my mind. Now, if I would have followed the societal expectations of growth and success, then probably I could have just been there for the rest of my life, earned a lot of money, become a C, even a very senior VP at that organization, or moved organizations to bigger, better roles, and I would have lived a life. But you have to trust me when I say this. When I took that call and I resigned in June of 2017, it's just been 6 years now. The amount of growth that I have experienced, not in the typical terms of what growth means, but really about experiencing, overcoming so many barriers that came into my way, learning so many new skills. That has been such an amazing experience for me. I have read more, I have met more diverse kinds of people. I have the opportunity of coming to forums like these and sharing my experience and knowledge. All of that has happened because I listened to my inner core of what I wanted to do. And that has helped me grow immensely. Again, not in terms of designation or salary or money or status, but just in terms of feeling so much more fulfilled and whole. So this again, that age-old understanding of what growth is and relating it to achievement and performance and all of that stuff has not worked for me. I feel so much more fulfilled after having quit those things. And again, it could be different for different people, right? So now I want all of you to take out your pen and paper. Let's experience the creative side of us. So whatever is next to you, it could be some color pencils, or it could be a pen, or it could be a pencil and some paper. So just take it out and take a few seconds to draw growth. Okay. When you hear the word growth, what comes to your mind? Just draw it and let's see what comes up for each one of us. Are we all in it? Can you just type a yes, or just say draw in the chat if we are all going to do that? Okay. And if you have family around you, you have kids around you, whoever is there, just ask them to take a pen and a paper and draw growth. It'll be interesting what emerges from there. So I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to allow you to think and draw. There's no right or wrong to this.
Hi, I want doubt.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Whenever it's growth come to my mind, it's feel like I want to achieve the Everest, like that in my mind actually. So I'm
Yeah.
drawing like a Everest peak now. So okay, step by step you have to move forward like that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because that's what's been taught to us. That's what we've been conditioned to believe, that it's always about climbing mountains, and not just climbing mountains. It's never the journey. It's reaching that destination.
Yeah.
So it's not about climbing Mount Everest. It's about reaching the peak of Mount Everest. That's what growth means to us.
Yeah.
Yes, you can type. If typing is more comfortable, feel free to do that as well. Whatever is comfortable. You know, when we actually draw something, we are using a completely different side of our brain. As leaders, we are more aligned to the right side, or rather the left side, and the creative side is the right side. So we use different parts of our brains to do different things. And if you draw, you just use a different part of your brain. Okay. So I hope you all have drawn something. If you want to show, just open your video and show what you've drawn. That will be beautiful for all of us to see what's coming up for you. If not, that's fine. You can send a picture on your group to say, this is what I drew for growth. And now I'm going to give you a prompt and see what comes up for you when you think of growth. Okay. So here's the x-axis and the y-axis. So on the x-axis is the time and y-axis is the progress. Now I want you to plot growth on this axis. It's very interesting. So just plot growth based on what you understand, what you have seen, and what does it mean to you. Okay. I think I saw Ramesh just drawing. Okay. Beautiful. You can annotate. Yeah. If you can annotate, you can annotate. Let's see what comes up as a group. I have a smiling sun there, or a smiley. Okay. Growth is, yeah, growing up physically, just moving forward. Fantastic. Somebody do a spiral. Very exciting. Great. I see some people have like beautiful drawing and they're able to draw so beautifully here. And a lot of you have actually drawn ups and downs, right? It's like a going up and going down. Excellent. So thank you to all of you who have contributed. You can draw it on your own paper also. You can give this as an exercise to a lot of people in your teams, to your leaders, and just understand what does it really mean to them. Okay. So we'll keep moving forward in the interest of time. And can we just clear the annotation? Yes. So this is a very interesting image that Liz has used. to talk about what growth is. Most of us, a lot of times, believe that growth is a straight line and it always needs to keep moving up, up, and up. Like someone just said beautifully, it's not about the journey of climbing Mount Everest, but it's about reaching the peak. So we want to keep moving up, 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 and we think that is growth. But growth is never a linear process. It has its up and down, and that is what makes it so exciting. In fact, sometimes not doing anything is also growth. Self-reflecting, being self-aware, working on ourselves, taking the time out, taking a break, well, that also contributes to growth. It is not important to keep doing, and thinking that we are growing, right? So this is a beautiful image that I thought I'll share with all of you because it just depicts the growth so beautifully. Now, what are some accelerators of growth? So we've spoken about what growth is, what growth is not, how is it not just a linear process, it has its up and downs, it could be a spiral, it could be a curve, it could take any form and shape, right? But how do we keep growing? What are some accelerators that we can use, that we can implement, which will help us to grow? And one of the biggest things that comes to my mind is actually actively seeking and amplifying discomfort. I'm sure all of you have heard that magic lies outside of your comfort zone. But most of us stay in our comfort zone. Most of us want to keep doing what we are good at. We are so resistant to trying new things. We are so resistant to being laughed at or being ridiculed at or getting embarrassed because all of those things tell us that we are not growing. So actively seeking and amplifying discomfort. And I'll give an example of what I'm talking here. So Adam Grant, if you've heard about him, he's a famous psychologist. He's the author of many bestseller books, and he's been on many, many podcasts, and he's such a brilliant professor, and he's such a great speaker. That's who he is now. But when he was growing up and he was a child, he actually had a lot of inhibition to stage speaking. He was so afraid of standing on stage and talking to people. He used to stutter, he used to freeze, he used to forget what he had in his mind. So that was the person he was as a child. Now he knew that he had to overcome that. So how did he actually show amplifying discomfort? He went through his friends to a college. And he said, I'm going to stand in front of like 100 students and I'm just going to speak. So not one student, not two students, not 10 people. He said, I'm going to amplify my discomfort and see how does that make me feel. And he did that repeated number of times, knowing that it will never get worse than this. Right? So that's what I mean by actively seeking and amplifying discomfort. It's not just about being a little bit uncomfortable, but can we move forward and actually get massively uncomfortable? Because that immediately will break that fear in you and it'll help you to grow. Immense growth happens when we do that. Okay. The second one, which I see a lot of people fearing, is making mistakes. We avoid making mistakes. We think that mistakes are a sign that I'm not doing well. It means I'm not an expert. I don't know enough. I will look like a beginner, but I have so much of experience. How can I look like that? So what do? We enclose ourselves in a box of our strengths, of things that we do well, and we keep repeating that over and over again. Well, that's great that we're doing what we're doing, but unfortunately, that's not going to result in growth because you're essentially repeating what you know best. So where is the growth in that? Growth comes when we are ready to experiment, when we are ready to do new things, when we are ready to meet new people and have those conversations. That's when growth happens. And such a big aspect of growth is being okay to make mistakes. Okay. And the final thing is being okay to say, I don't know. I was talking to a client very recently. In fact, we had a call yesterday, and she's going to do a big presentation, a very, very crucial, important presentation in front of a large audience. And she was very nervous. She came to me and said, Deepa, if I forget? What if I freeze? And what if I can't answer the questions that the audience asks? And I said, so what? She said, oh, that's going to mean that I have not researched well, I have not practiced well, I don't know my topic. Why would they even trust me? So that's the fear that most of us carry when we get into presentations, when we get into speaking sessions, when we get into on stage to talk to an audience. Because the fear is, what if I can't answer those questions? And I tell that it's okay to not know. To be able to say, I don't know, what a brilliant question that is. And I'm going to come back to you with answers. I'm going to research and come back to you. That is such a beautiful sign of a secure, confident, and an expert. So we have to become okay in making mistakes, in doing blunders, in failing, in being okay with saying, I don't know, and I'm going to come back and answer that question for you. All of these things are accelerators. We've heard a lot of other things like asking the right questions, being curious, learning your topic, being an expert, practicing, preparation. All of that is fine. But I thought I'm going to share something which is the crux of growth. Are you with me now? Am I making sense to all of you? Let's see some shares on the chat. So what has stood out for you? What is something that has come to you as you've been listening to me for the past 30 minutes or so? So I would love to see on chat. Are you with me? Just say with you, making sense, something. Yeah. Okay. Great. Absolutely. Yes. New thoughts. I'm glad. And I would be happy to answer questions around these things as we keep moving forward. So introspection, absolutely. Enlightening, okay. Making sense, fantastic. So I know that you are with me and we are together in this. So let's keep moving forward. Now what I'm going to share is some of the decelerators of growth. So we have heard about what are the accelerators. Now let's see what are the decelerators of growth. And the first one, very surprising, and I'm going to put it up, and I want to, again, go to the chat and say if you already knew that this was a decelerator, okay? And then we'll talk about it. So our own mind. And I'll talk about it. Like I said, I'm fascinated by how our mind works, human psychology, and why some people grow so rapidly and why some people don't. So mind is our biggest roadblock. Did you know this? Just go ahead in the chat and say, yeah, I knew it, or this is new. Just say old or new, and I'll know whether you already know it or this is new. Okay? New? Okay. Old? Okay. Some people say, yeah, our mind. So let's talk about that a little bit because this is fascinating how we focus on growth, but then our mind comes in the way and stops us from growing. Isn't that fascinating? So the essential function of our mind, if we have to kind of bring it down to one thing that our mind does, and what is the role of our mind, and that is to keep us safe. I would request everyone to just go on mute. Thank you so much. So the essential function of our mind is to keep us safe. It will do everything in its power to keep us safe. Now, what does safe really mean? Safe means not danger, right? When there is no danger, that's safe. And what is the biggest danger to our mind? It's change. Change, any kind of change, is the biggest danger to our mind. So meeting a new person, wearing a new dress, changing my hairstyle, joining a new organization, going for an interview, all of that are dangers to our mind. And since its primary role is to keep us safe, it brings up all kind of excuses and reasons to not enter those areas. Okay, So our mind essentially, which we think is aligned to our goals and will help us to grow and all of that, actually it stops us because it is so scared of danger that it will bring up everything possible from our past experiences, from how people have failed, from how someone took a chance and they failed. You know, it will bring up everything that is in our vicinity or what we have learned to tell us how we should not do it. So that's the first thing. It will protect us, it will keep us safe, it will avoid danger by avoiding change at any cost. And the second function of the mind is that it avoids pain and moves towards pleasure. Right? It avoids pain and moves towards pleasure, and pleasure could also be less pain. So if there are two choices that you have, it will choose a choice which is giving you comparatively less pain. So I speak to so many leaders from large organizations, and they're stuck in their jobs. They're not growing. They are completely, stagnated and unhappy and unfulfilled. So that's a pain for them. But going to an interview and getting rejected a number of times is a bigger pain for them. So guess what they choose? They choose to stay where they are because safety for our mind means familiarity. Whatever is comfortable, whatever is familiar, at least I know how to deal with that situation. So it keeps us there. And that is how it stops us from growing. And to give a live example, so when Gopi reached out to me and said, Deepa, you have to come, and I've done so many speaking sessions, but every time I still get invited to a speaking session and I say yes, the next day as I'm preparing and I'm spending time to think what would help the audience, my mind says, was it necessary to say yes? What would have happened if you would have said no? Right? So still the mind brings up reasons of why I should not have said yes. Now, most of us listen to our mind and do what it is saying. And that's why we don't grow. Now, the beauty is we have to learn to listen to our mind and yet do what we have to do. So I listened to my mind when it brought up so many reasons of why I shouldn't have said yes. But then I said, you know what? I'm still doing. I'm going to enjoy the experience and see what happens. So that's when you kind of tame your mind a little bit and your mind starts to learn that it can raise as many problems as it wants, but she is going to go and do it anyways. So I thought I'll talk a little bit about it because if we can just work on this aspect, you will come across so many new opportunities, so many new associations, so many new collaborations where it will be easier to say yes. Okay, let's move to the next one. So the next one is being a perfectionist. Again, I meet so many people who are in this, I need to be a perfectionist. I need to get it done properly. I cannot deliver something which is just done. And so that's an unending process. And the reasons why we are a perfectionist are like a topic for a different discussion. But something that stops us from growing is that thing in our mind about trying to be a perfectionist and each and every aspect of my life. And the third one, which is related to the second one, is waiting to be ready. I'm not ready yet. I need to learn more. I need to read more. I need to do more certifications. And that list is endless. We always think that I'm not ready. And in this age and world where everything is changing so rapidly, we can never be ready. We have to accept the unknown and then figure out how am I going to deal with that unknown. That's a different skill to have. But waiting to be ready by constantly learning is not taking us anywhere. Right? So these are the three decelerators that I thought I'll share because this is what keeps us where we are. This is what stops us from growing. And this is what literally stagnates and creates that feeling of unfulfillment in our life. So which is the one that stays with you? What is one of these three that you think is not helping you or is standing in your way and not allowing you to move forward? Can you write it in the chat? Is it mind? Is it being a perfectionist, or is it just waiting to be ready? I would love to see what is resonating with you at this time. Absolutely. Life of Pi is a beautiful example of dealing with life situations. Yes. So which one do you resonate with the most? Mind, being a perfectionist, and waiting to be ready. Okay. Most of us live in the fear and we are constantly worrying. And there's another beautiful quote which says 99% of what we worry about never happens. Right? So worrying is another what should I say? It's a trick of the mind. So your mind constantly puts you in a fear and worried mode, because then you're not going to take action, and it results in inaction. And inaction is never going to help us grow. Thank you so much for sharing. And waiting to be ready looks to be something that has resonated with a lot of you. So thank you so much for sharing. Let's keep moving forward. Now, another important aspect of growth, and a lot of times this question comes to me, is how do I measure growth? How do I know that if I am growing at the right pace or not? And there are very, very interesting aspects. One of the things that we use to measure our growth is comparison. So we look at my classmates who graduated at the same time. We look at where they are in life, in their career, and then we measure them with us and we say, oh, I'm not growing because my peers are at someplace else. Right? So that's the most common measuring criteria that I have come across, which is being used by so many people in the industry right now. Now, comparison is important. I don't say comparison is not important, because it helps us to see what is possible. But when does it become a challenge? When comparison results in envy. So envy is the thief of joy, not comparison. Comparison is great. So that's the most common measuring tool. And here I'm going to share two measuring ways, which could be very different, and which could possibly help you to see growth in a different way. So the first one is, are you better than yesterday? While we are seeing everybody around us, and while we are seeing what my peers and what's happening in the industry, what kind of salaries are standard and self, but really, if you compare yourself to your version of yesterday or 1 month back or 2 months back, you will see if you are growing. And one of the beautiful ways to do this is, I'm today who I am. If I reflect back and I see my 6-month-old Deepa, and I wonder if the 6-month-old Deepa would be proud of what I am doing today. And if that is the case, then that's beautiful. That means I have grown over the last 6 months. And usually, our prior self is very proud of who we have become today. Right? So the measuring criteria always has to be, am I better than who I was some time back? And you can decide that time. If the answer is no, then unfortunately, it means that you are just being where you are and not moving forward. And the second yardstick of growth is what I call the gap versus gain. This is a very beautiful book written by Benjamin Hardy, and he talks about gap versus gain. And what this means is, we set goals, right? We set organization goals, we set personal goals, we set health goals, we set financial goals. So we have so many goals in our lives. And from today, we keep looking at those goals and we keep seeing the gap. And we see how far those goals are and how difficult is it for us to meet those goals. So that is called the gap. So we constantly see the gap. And because the gap is huge, because our goals are big, we feel overwhelmed, we feel worried, and we feel that we will never reach there. And that demotivates us, uninspires us, and it just brings us and our energy down. So how do we overcome that? We overcome that by what I just said. We look at the gain. We look at how far I have come. So when I left Capgemini in 2017, if I keep looking at where do I want to be in 2030, it's going to completely demotivate me, because the gap is huge. But if I look how far I have come, the possibilities that have come, the leaders that I have coached, well, that's a lot of growth for me. And that helps you to build the momentum. And once you have built the momentum, then it's easy to grow. Then it's easy to even reach and crush the goals that you set for yourself. Right? So use your game to bring the momentum so that you can then go and live your life and reach the other goals that you have set for yourself. And there's a huge dominoes effect come into play. If you know what the dominoes effect is, if everything is kept together, blocks are kept together, you just push one block and you will see that all the blocks will fall down. So you don't need a lot of energy to push all the blocks. So with the right momentum, the right mindset, the right approach, you will see most of your goals are easily met. You don't have to worry and work towards each of those single goals. So that's how I measure my growth. And that's my recommendation to a lot of people when they come and say, Deepa, am I growing or am I not growing? And what I've also discovered is it's very, very difficult to force growth. It's like you plant a seed and then you keep telling the seed, grow, grow, grow. It doesn't grow. It grows at its own pace. The only thing which is in our control is actually to give it the right environment. Are you giving it the water the right time? Is it getting sunlight? Is the soil where it is planted healthy and nutritious? Are you removing the weeds at the right time? That is what we can do to enable growth. But there is no way that we can force growth. And the pace at which each one of us grows is very different for different people. So there is no standard measuring stick of measuring growth. Right? And this is a beautiful quote that I heard from Adam Grant in one of the podcasts. And he says, the person you are competing with is your past self, and the bar that you are raising is for your future self. How beautiful is that? The person that you are competing with is your past self, and the bar that you are raising is for your future self. If we can just keep this in mind, then it doesn't matter what's happening around us, because our journey is our individual journey. And this can actually be applied to self, it can be applied to a team, it can be applied to the organization, and it can be actually applied to everything that is happening around us. Right? So this is how we measure growth, this is how we look at growth, this is how we demystify growth, and this is how we reimagine growth. Now, I want to move to the next phase of the session, which is about reimagining lives. And I would lead you through a very beautiful exercise, and which will help you to create some interesting goals for yourself, to get some interesting perspective, and then we will see what emerges as we do this exercise. Okay. So before we go there, I would again request some interaction on the chat. So from the first part of this session, what has literally stayed with you? What are you carrying back with yourself? Just share some feedback, some insights to help me see that yeah, it's making sense to all of us. So what is that one thing which is staying with you? Keep experimenting, measuring gain. Yeah, fantastic. Move away from comfort zone. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the crux of growth. Work on growth accelerators, work even harder. Yeah. Amplifying discomfort. Yeah, absolutely.
Mindset.
Mindset. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I see Shailendra has raised his hand. Yeah, Shailendra, we'll take one and then we'll move forward. So please.
Ma'am, I just had one question which is related to mindset.
Okay.
You mentioned about the growth decelerator, mind as a growth decelerator.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it does happen. The words that we use, they confuse us. And in Hindi, the guy who's happy going, we say he's a manmoji person. So it is being perceived that someone who goes by what his mind tells him, then he's a happy guy. And sometimes, we are stuck with the logic. So sometimes mind also tells us to do a certain thing which is close to our heart, but brain pushes us back to the logic. And so can you just explain a bit about this correlation between mind and brain, or maybe how to trick our mind
Yeah.
when we see how to see that mind is keeping us entangled, and sometimes it is making us free. Can you throw some light?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. Is it okay if I answer that towards the end of the session? Because it'll take a
Absolutely.
little time and then
No
we'll
worries, no
definitely
worries. I
address
can
it.
connect to you on LinkedIn also about this.
Sure,
No
sure.
worries. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so much. And I'll definitely talk about it because this is such a intriguing aspect of what stops us from growing. But thank you for raising that question.
Sure.
So,
Thanks.
all right, so let's go through this reflective exercise. It will take about 2-3 minutes. And I want all of you to just get comfortable where you are, wherever you are sitting. You'll need to close your eyes for 2-3 minutes. So if you're driving or something, please don't do that. If you're comfortable in your home, seated comfortably in a place which is safe, I would request all of you to just sit back, get into a position which is comfortable to you. And let's take a couple of deep breaths. So take a deep breath in. You can count to 4 as you breathe in. And just breathe out to the count of 8. Let's again take a deep breath in. And breathe out. Now just scan your body and see if you have stored stress somewhere. Just release your forehead. Smile, release the stress in your jaws. Just loosen your jaws. Release the stress in your shoulders. We carry a lot of stress in our shoulders, so just push back your shoulders. Be comfortable in your legs. You can put your feet on the ground or you can fold your legs, whatever is comfortable. So it's just to keep you in the moment comfortable so that you can focus on what I'm going to say next. Now I'll request all of you to close your eyes and just listen to me, be with me, and go with me. Now imagine that you are living the way you are living right now. You're doing what you're doing, you're thinking what you're thinking, you're taking actions as you're taking action today, you're taking opportunities which are coming as you're doing it right now. So you continue living and you have reached 90th year of your life. Today, you are 90 years and everyone is celebrating. It's a big milestone and everybody is happy around you. You spend the entire day with your close friends, with your family, celebrating. And in the evening, you're sitting down on your rocking chair and you're reflecting on the life gone by, 90 years. So as you reflect on the life gone by, you're looking at different situations that have come. You're looking at different opportunities that have come your way. And I want you to now focus on the questions that I'm going to ask. So the life flashes by, and I want you to focus on what are you celebrating in your life? Take a moment to just see what comes up for you. As a 90-year-old, sitting in your rocking chair and reflecting on the life gone by, ask yourself, what am I celebrating? Now, let's move to the next question. Focus on what did I not attempt? What did I not take a second chance on? See what comes up for you. And the last question is, what are some of the regrets that I am carrying? What are some relationships that I should have invested in? What are some opportunities that I should have said yes to? What are some regrets that I am carrying with me right now? So just spend a few moments to contemplate on these 3 questions. What are you celebrating? What did you not attempt? And what are some regrets that you are carrying? And now, bring your current self in front of you. So bring your current self, who you are today, in front of your 90-year-old self. And just give some feedback. What would you want your current self to do differently from today? What would you want your current self to learn, to experiment? How would you want your current self to live life going forward from today? And see what comes up for you. And once you feel that you have interacted, you have got the responses, you have spent the time, just come back to your present self. Come back to the room that you're sitting in. Come back to the place where you're sitting. Feel your body. Take a few deep breaths. And when you feel ready and you feel complete, you can open your eyes. I hope all of you were able to visualize yourself and receive some thoughts, some feedback from your older self. And if you're willing to share, and if it's not too personal, and it is okay, you can put it on the chat. And if it is not, I completely understand, and that's okay as well. So if you're willing to share it, just go ahead and share it in the group. And if you're not, that's fine as well. This exercise for me brings up a lot of clarity every time I do it for myself and my audience. So I just thought I'll experiment it because we're talking about growth. And the best person who can actually tell us what to change in this moment is our older selves, the wisdom that we have as our older self. So let me see if we have something on the chat. Okay. I understand. Yeah, it's becoming too emotional. Just do what is needed. Just take care of yourself. Um, Celebrating, lived every moment fully. Fantastic. That's beautiful. Drink some water, everyone. You've come back. You've done a very deep exercise. So just give yourself what is needed to feel comfortable and to feel relaxed. And thank you for giving me the space and trust to lead you through this exercise. And this will stay with you. So even as you live life over the next 2 days, 3 days today, I'm sure you will keep receiving inputs from your older self, and be open to listen to what is coming up for you, because this is deep wisdom. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving forward. We've discussed growth. We have demystified growth. We've understood growth. We've spoken about the pace of growth. We've understood what growth really means. Now let's kind of summarize it all together and see, how does our best life blueprint, how do we create my best life blueprint? And my version of best life is actually when we are able to discover our potential, when we are able to leverage our potential, and we reach that stage, that end of life, where we have no regrets. Like, we've tried what we wanted to try, we've given it our best, we have shown up literally 100% in every scenario that came up. We have lived through every moment of our life giving our best. That's the best life. Now, how do we reach there? So these are some of the guidelines that have worked for me, that have worked for my clients, and I would invite you to experiment with these. If it works, fantastic. If not, I'm sure there's a different way to create the best life blueprint for you, and that's absolutely fine. So the first thing is personalized growth. There are no set standards, there are no set parameters, there is absolutely no standard scale which says this is growth, right? So I have understood that personalizing growth means a lot and it gives us a lot of space to experiment. So for me, my growth definition, how I have personalized it for myself right now is, can I work just 3 days in a week and spend the other time in reading, listening, undergoing training myself, traveling? Can I be more connected to people now? Can I spend time in family functions, talking to family, supporting people? That's what is my personalized growth. Can I experiment more? Can I take risks more? Can I share my learnings more? That has become a part of what growth means to me. And it will mean different at different phases. So when I was working in Capgemini, it had a very different meaning and definition to it. So it's important to reflect back and personalize growth for your own self. And how do we do that? We do that by scheduling time for self evaluation, self reflection, and somebody said beautifully, introspection. Every 2, 3 days, stand in front of the mirror, look at yourself, and ask yourself, am I enjoying the life that I'm living right now? Is it really fulfilling? What emotions come up when I just reflect back on the life that I'm leading right now? So it's important to keep asking that question and then make changes if it's not giving you the answer that you want. So scheduling time for self-evaluation is extremely important. Actively seek discomfort, fail fast, fail forward. I think we've discussed that, so I'm not going to go into it. This is a beautiful one. Leveraging strengths, delegating weakness. I see a lot of leaders that I work with who are constantly trying to convert their weakness into strengths. They're working hard, taking trainings, doing everything because they feel they're not good in one specific area. But the challenge is you will never get better than the people who are great in that area. So my philosophy is, can I build my life around my own strengths, around what I love doing, around what I enjoy doing, what I'm passionate about? And can I delegate the rest of that stuff to people who enjoy doing that? There is always someone who enjoys doing what you do not enjoy doing. So find those people. And this is also a very, very, very beautiful strategy to increase productivity at workplace. So I tell all my leaders that you have to understand the aspirations and the strength and what gives joy to each member of your team. If you don't do that and you're putting people in areas that they don't enjoy working in, there is no way that you're going to get better productivity from them. So this is not just for us, this is to apply across our organizations as well. And then another important one is strategies to navigate tough times. Now, what does that mean? It means that we will not always be inspired, we'll not always be motivated, we'll not always be at a high. There are going to be tough times when we feel low, we are uninspired, there's no enthusiasm, we feel that nothing is going right. Now, we need structures and systems which will take us through those times. A lot of people give up during those times. So my recommendation is to experiment with creating rituals, things that you do no matter how you feel. They have nothing to do with how you're feeling on that day. And a book that I recommend to a lot of people is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's such a fantastic book that helps us to build habits, to build systems, so that irrespective of what is happening around us or here, we keep doing what we have to do. So building systems, rituals, accountability to keep us on track, to do the things that we have to do every day, that's like a great way to creating your best life. And finally, seeking help. It's such a beautiful age, and online is such a beautiful platform because, and COVID has helped us do that, to really go and use this, leverage this opportunity. I wouldn't be talking to all of you if we didn't have Zoom or if we didn't have this platform. So you can literally reach out to so many people who can help you in any area of your life, be it your career, be it your health, be it your mental space, anything that you want. There's a person who can help you. Now, it's important to choose who you work with. Again, a topic for a different discussion, but it's important to actively seek help. You cannot solve all the problems on your own. There are experts who have done the work, who have gone through some of these challenges, and they have created systems to help you. So seeking help, I find, is one of the easiest way to overcome any blockers on your way and to move to the next phase of growth. Okay, so that's your best life blueprint. These are some ways in which you can keep moving forward. And finally, like, I love this the most. It's celebrating wins. And we think again, wins is reaching the Mount Everest, but no, the win is also the journey to Mount Everest. There are so many wins that each one of us have every single day. But in our pursuit of reaching that final goal in our head, the outcome, we forget the process and the efforts that it is taking to reach there. And the journey becomes very, very stressed out, anxious, and nervous. What if we start enjoying every milestone of the journey, every single thing that we're doing? Celebrate that. What stops us from doing that? So celebrating wins creates momentum, and momentum helps you to keep moving forward towards your goals. So this is such an essential part of your best life blueprint. Find ways to celebrate, big goals we anyway celebrate, but find those small things that you've done, small wins that you've had, and celebrate those. It gives a lot of fulfillment and it helps us, keep moving forward. So that's all I had to share. Now I'm just going to look at time and see where we are. So we are at 11:48. Gopi, do we have time to, just put people in? I thought we'll put people in breakout rooms to just share what they have experienced, what they have learned, and then we can come back. Do we have time for that, or what would you suggest?
Ask them to post it in the chat box. Will that be okay?
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, I want all of you to go to menti.com.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing. So go to menti.com and put in the code 4932. Let me share that. Right, just go to menti.com and can you see my Menti screen? What are you seeing on my screen right now? I'm going to share my screen. Just hold on. Okay, so go to menti.com and put the code 49322962 and you will see a screen something like this. What are some of your learnings from today's session? So you can it's a free typing space. Just share what's coming up for you and we will see the responses here. Hope you can see my Menti screen, right?
Yes, very much.
Okay, great. The code is also there on the top of this screen. So you can just go to menti.com, put in this code, and let's see what are some of the learnings from today's session before we wrap up, and I'll take questions.
Four 4932 and 29?
2962. It's there on the top of this screen as well. 49322962. So build a blueprint of my life system, enjoy the journey, define your growth, take action, no need to compare. Yes, your own growth is better than yesterday is important. Absolutely. Self-realization, great. Yeah. Listen to your heart, keep the mind away. No, we need to use our mind, but we need to use it carefully. Delegate weakness to others. Yes, absolutely. It has worked for me beautifully. And compare only with your current self. Yes. Amplify discomfort, celebrate wins. Yeah. Very refreshing and thought-provoking session for me, as I have just moved to a new job and was searching next how to get into the new organization. Beautiful. I'm glad it was useful. Self-reflect, experiment, measure gain. Yeah. Seek help, seek discomfort, celebrate small wins. Fantastic. Keep them coming. This is, there for you. And Gopi,
Yeah.
you can. Thank you so much for just being such a wonderful audience, engaging with me, being with me, sharing with me. And I really, really appreciate all your responses and time that you spent with me.
Gopi, can I?
Yes, please.
This is Vishwanath. I think the real problem starts in school, where you are straitjacketed. Success means getting ranks, marks.
Yeah.
The school doesn't have a system to let you explore, and this is the school is the first culprit. The second is the social environment, because Indians mostly, we are social animals. We can't do as freely as most people in the West can do, and they can achieve growth because to some extent you can say they are self-centered. This session mostly by men. Most men sacrifice their life for the happiness of the family, the parents. In fact, most men tend to live multiple lives to keep the equations,
the bread,
without upsetting anybody.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll have a devoted son, a jolly friend, a ruthless father. I mean, we have to don several caps. I mean, what's your comment on this? Because one is the school, which kind of the system doesn't allow the teacher to experiment excellence.
Yeah.
Do not write answers that you wish you can write. You're supposed to write the answers that is expected to get your marks. These are the two questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are very, very valid. And thank you for bringing them up, Vishwanath. So school, unfortunately, even the teachers who are teaching are bound by the societal expectations, right? So they don't know better than what they are teaching. But the good thing is that things are changing. The parents are getting more evolved. So I firmly believe that if one person can move their thinking from these old ways into a new way, it's a generation that they can then lead into that way of thinking. So if I can be that role model at home, and I can influence the people in my family, people around me, my kid can then influence kids around her. I think it's a small change, but it will definitely have a ripple effect. And the good thing is we are talking about it. So nobody's hiding. It's a well-known challenge, and there are systems and there are processes and there are discussions happening around how can we change it. So that's what we can do at this point. How can I influence it in whichever way I can? So that's my response to the school question, because there's no straight and standard answer to it. I believe awareness starts that movement. And we are like 65, 70 people sitting here listening to this. How can I change, or how can I bring in a small change in my environment? Can we start thinking around those terms? Like somebody just shared, sustainability, beautiful, from bottles to jackets. Who even thought that was possible? Right? So it's a thought. It's a thought which creates a movement. So that's the school part of it. The second part of it is, you're talking about men donning different hats and going through different roles and responsibilities in your life. I talk to so many women who come to me. I have sacrificed my entire life for my family, and they don't see what I have done. I've given up my career. I've given up my parents, I've given up my friends just to look after my family and my kids, right? So I think the society as a whole has to evolve. Not just men, there are women. And I talk to a lot of children as well. And the children come and say, my parents don't understand what I am trying to say. That's their problem. So each one of us has our own problem. Now, the challenge is, where do we move from here? We can keep talking about the problems, or we can take small steps to move towards solution and to bring in that change that we so wish to see. Right? So I know that's not an answer, but I was just sharing my thoughts around very two important pertinent points related to growth. And we have to, so that is my attempt with the leaders that I work, the handful of leaders that I work with, the organizations that I work with, they come to me for career acceleration. But that's not where I start. I start from helping them give a different meaning to situations. So can I look at growth differently? Why does growth need to be achievements and accolades and trophies and good marks? Why can't growth be pursuing my passion, trying different things, failing? Why can't that be growth? Who has defined this for us, right? So I start from there. And then it helps them to see career acceleration in a very different way than what they had in mind when they came to me. So that's my small contribution to bringing any kind of change that I can in the people that I am surrounded with and the people that I work with. So thank you for asking that question. And yeah, it was insightful for me to just reflect on that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Vivekanandan, please go on. Please go on.
Yeah. Thank you, Gopi. Deepa, this was an excellent session. Probably everyone would have, if not 100, 200% been attentive to it. Because you have just changed the thoughts of what is growth. And also it being the mind which always see 100 doors which are closed, it is failed to identify the one door which is open. That's what always we look for: fear, obstacles, or the past experience. And this. It was an eye opener. Great thanks to you. Definitely it will increase. I'll say growth is happy. Okay,
Wow.
Happiness is the growth. So I'll always say, what is your goal? Either it is in office or in home. I'll say, if I can make a happy atmosphere at office, that's called the growth for me. Okay, but you made me happy. Hope many of them. Thanks to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so blessed and I'm honored, and thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Yeah. If I can keep my environment happy, it will make me happy. It will keep everyone happy, and together we'll all be happy. So yeah, let's be happy.
I'll start making further more effort to make happy. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really respect that.
Yeah, one more question from my side actually. Today I
Sure.
learned a lot actually. So previous year 2023 I started my career into that comfort zone into uncomfort zone actually. So this 1 year journey it's come to today February only I started in 2023. So the 1 year journey I review it means me a lot. Like a previous year how I am looking like in a room work from home I'm staying. Now I have achieved something like after 1 year. Actually what I am doing is I'm a freelance trainer actually in a Mern stack. Okay, so I teach the students to tell them how to growth in the life. Don't work for the money, don't go for the employee, just go for the business, go for the freelance works. So I train them like that. So I tell them, so you should have to set your goals and visions, dreams, and make them the vision. So like that. So every point I taught to them, it's come to my point. Okay, so I'm teaching the right way. I'm going a correct path now. Like that, I'm
Yeah.
fixing. Okay, I have a lot to learn and prepare myself here. Yeah,
I'm
that's
so
thank you.
glad. So you are influencing the right, audience. Students are, so powerful because they're going to lead us into the future. So if you
Yes.
can open their mind to this kind of thinking, I'm sure that they will lead us into a bigger, better, and a more empowered future, right? And one of the things that comes to my mind is, why do we so much fear what I just shared? And it's because the price that we have to pay for leading this kind of a life.
Yeah.
Right. So I was reading about an example yesterday. So there's a guy who wanted to be a zookeeper since his childhood. So this was a story which was shared on Humans on Bombay. So this guy wanted to be a zookeeper, but he did not get those opportunities. He was in India, and then he got married. He had a family, so he was never able to go to what he loved doing. And then what happened was he went to Singapore. And I know there's somebody from Singapore as well. I've been to Singapore, beautiful place. The zoo is absolutely magnificent. So this guy went to the zoo in Singapore and his heart just melted. He said, "Oh, I want to be here. It was my dream. I need to be here." Right? So what did he do? He applied for that. Most of us, what will we do? We will look at that, we'll dream and we'll say, it's not possible. I have a family. This is not there. It is Singapore. Who will give me a job? I don't have the qualifications. That's your mind talking, and you come back. Right? The mind will give you enough reasons to not take a step forward.
Take a step forward. Yeah.
Right? So this guy, what did he do? He again listened to the mind, but he moved forward. He applied. He got a call. He appeared for that interview, and he was hired. In 2 months, he was hired, and he was now responsible for taking care of 5 elephants in the Singapore Zoo. And he shared his story, and it was not easy, right? So the price that he had to pay, his wife was in India. Later on, he had a kid, and then COVID came. He could not see his kid because he was in Singapore. So from a 5-month-old kid, he saw his kid at 19 months old. So when we say we want to grow and do things for our passion, there is a price that we have to pay. Are we okay to pay the price of living the life that we would like to live? That's a question that we need to answer.
Yeah.
Right? So the price that I had to pay, I had to let go of my designation. I had a solid midlife crisis because my identity was being a senior director at Capgemini. Right? And one fine day after I resigned, I was not a senior director. There was nobody asking for me. There was no recognition. There was nothing. And there was no salary coming. Money is such a big identity for most of us. And I literally had to go through that phase of not going back for the first 3 years. The pull was so strong. My supervisors and my bosses and my leaders were literally calling me like every 2 months and saying, "Deepa, we have an opportunity, come back." So we have to pay the price. Now it's 6 years and I am like absolutely clear, but I was not so clear in the first 2-3 years because I was not making money. I didn't have enough clients. I thought it is not going to happen. I'm going to fail. Businesses fail in the first 3 years. So that was my story. But then I am so happy that I stayed back because I stayed back, I'm here.
Yeah.
And when I say here, I'm talking to such a beautiful audience today. It wouldn't have happened if I was in Capgemini. So there is a price to pay. We have to be okay to pay that price. And price is not money. Price can be a lot of different things.
Yes.
That is where we take a step back because we are not ready to pay the price. We want everything easy. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Long answer to a short question, but yeah, that's what my experience is.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, participants, you may please unmute and ask your questions.
So while people are thinking of questions, I can answer Shailendra's question.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So he had asked about how do we trick our mind? You don't have to trick your mind. The mind is doing its role. The mind is playing its role. And I compare to understand mind. I take a very beautiful metaphor, which I learned, which is, in a ship. So a ship has the goal of leaving port A and reaching port B. That's a simple goal of the captain of a ship. He or she has to lead the ship from port A to port B. So that's the captain. Now there's another very important responsibility role on the ship, which is called the sentry of the ship. Okay, so there's a sentry of the ship who works with the captain, and the goal and the role of the sentry is to raise as many dangers as he or she can as the ship navigates. So the sentry will find 50 reasons of why something is going to happen. So the direction of the wind, it could be a shark that the sentry sees, or it could be just that the ship is moving in a different direction, or there's a ship which is coming next to it, or something, the weather changing, or whatever. So the sentry brings up 100 dangers to the ship, and he brings it to the captain, and the captain listens to the sentry. But now answer me, if the captain listens to the sentry and takes the advice, what's going to happen to the ship? The ship is not going to move, because there's so many potential dangers ahead. And if the captain listens to the sentry, he will say, oh no, this is too dangerous. The sea is too deep. The winds are not as per what I want. The ship is not going to land. So I'm going to stay where I am. So what does the captain do? Because the ship moves and the ship reaches the port. So the captain listens to all the dangers, but applies the intellect to decide what needs action and what needs to just be. Right? Something that is going to happen 10 years down the line, we start worrying about it right now. What if I get sick when I'm old? What if I die early? I want to be immortal. I want to live a permanent life. Those are the worries that we have. What if I lose all my money? What if I come on the street? These what ifs in our mind are your mind playing the role of a sentry. All the worst case situations, because we want to be in control, we need certainty in life. And our mind thinks by raising these problems, you're going to handle each of these things, or at least know that these are the problems that you're going to face. So what do? We listen like a captain and we say, I heard you. Thank you for bringing this up, but no, thank you. I know I can handle it. I'm resilient enough. I have seen life. I've faced worse things, and I'm going to lead my ship to port B. That's how you train your mind. And slowly you will see the noise that it makes when you are about to attempt an uncomfortable, challenge will reduce. Slowly, your mind becomes your friend. And then it'll push you towards your goals. That's the beauty of it. It'll find opportunities for you to take those risks, because the mind has now learned that you're not going to sit back and just be. So it's not an overnight thing. There are tools, there are processes, there are things that we have to do to reach that place. But I'm telling you the end goal. Otherwise, nobody would be a world champion. Nobody would be a Virat Kohli or a Dhoni or whoever we admire, right? Or a sinner for that matter. If you saw the Australian Open last weekend, what a magnificent match it was. So how do we become those champions? Not by listening to our mind, because then nobody would start. We would all be just sitting where we are, because that's the safest and most comfortable place. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Shailendra.
Yeah, Deepaji, thanks. Thanks for the perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Shankar. We have, let's say, X turnover today and want to make it 3X, right? So I know the reasons why I could not achieve it, though I planned it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we got so much of appreciation, accolades, right? But not the turnover.
Yeah.
In spite of so many efforts, what additional thing I need to do, see to that I reach that goal?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, but there's a lot of analysis that we need to do to really get to the answer of how can I reach from say X to a 3X. But my short answer to this, Shankar, is what are you pursuing? Like, what was your predominant focus when you started? And both are important. See, rewards and recognitions are also important. I don't ignore the importance of those things. I am a big brand on LinkedIn. Like I post, that is how Gopi found me. So if I don't talk about what I do, who will ever know what I do? Right? So it's important to present yourself in the market. We all crave, and it's fine. We all feel happy when we are rewarded and appreciated. But then what is my focus on? What am I working on? What are the barriers that I have overlooked as I am planning my growth from X to 2X?
Okay.
Right? Doing what I am doing will take us to a certain level. Like I always say, there's a very beautiful be do have model. So I want to have something. I want to have a 3x of my organization. But am I becoming a different organization? Is my being changing? Because just setting goals doesn't mean we will meet those goals. We have to change the culture at the organization. We have to change the essence of the organization. Sometimes we just need a rebranding of the organization. Right? And that's an intensive process. But when you rebrand, you refocus, you reorient, that's changing the being, the essence of what that organization is, which will then take you to the actions that you have to take and which will then lead you to the results. It's never a backward process. It's never an outward in process. You cannot move from achieving goals to becoming different. It always starts from inside in. We have to change the essence. We have to become a better person to have the results that we want. Similarly, we have to grow in terms of essence and become different as an organization, be known for different things. The culture has to shift. And those are all very deep, deep shifts that need to happen if you're looking at a growth from X to 3X. So it's always
Understood.
a be, do, have.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. That was a very interesting question.
Hi Deepa, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it was an awesome session, and I do have one question. And the measurement of growth, which you explained, is something phenomenal. It's like validating what we do. So, in my phenomena, the growth is something what we give instead of what I take. So, as you said, if I worked as an employee, today my annual income would be something more than 50 lakhs, which we normally now giving as a salary to our employees. So that gives me phenomenal satisfaction when you consider the growth. So my question to you is, you asked about, you said about being perfectionist. So that's one thing which we always like to correct ourselves. So how to kill that being a perfectionist? Your overview on that.
Sure. That's like a very, very good question because most of us, 90% of us are always dealing with that being a perfectionist syndrome, I call it. Now, we have to understand that what does it mean to be a perfectionist, right? What are we hiding while we are trying to be a perfectionist? There's always a root cause that I go into. There's never a straight answer. Do these three things and you will not be a perfectionist. Because I have understood that our behaviors are deep seated in our beliefs, in the fears, and our identity. Right? So unless I change or address some of these things, my behavior is not going to change. Being a perfectionist is a behavior. It's an outward phenomenon. Right? So behind the perfectionist, we can actually do a session on what does perfectionism mean, and I can share my things on some ideas on that. But behind a perfectionist is a person who's highly insecure. Behind a perfectionist is a person who's scared of being ridiculed, who's scared of being embarrassed, who's scared of, they have so many fears. What if people judge me? What if people don't like me? And someone had said, we are such a strong society-oriented culture that we don't want to be left out. And that's the tribal, the prehistoric times mind, how it has developed. Right? So the reptilian brain part of us always wants to be a part of the society. We cannot afford to be sidelined. And if I deliver something which is not perfect, and my boss says something, my colleague says something, or somebody says something, then I am going to be made fun of. People will not like me. People will not appreciate me. That's the fear which is guiding us being a perfectionist. Trust me, I have worked with so many clients who have this fear of writing on LinkedIn. How many of us have that fear? We don't want to show ourselves on LinkedIn. We don't want to write on LinkedIn. Why? Because what if only one person likes my post? What if no one likes my post? right? What if people say what I'm saying is not true? How will I look if I talk about this topic? That's the question which they are struggling with before even putting their one post on LinkedIn. My God. And the truth of the reality is, everybody is so much possessed with themselves that they don't care what you're doing. They are so much possessed with their own insecurities and fears and traumas that they don't care what the world is doing. And each person is thinking what the other person is thinking of. That's such a conundrum, isn't it? So, perfectionism is just a behavior. How do you need to kill perfectionism? By growing and becoming worthy of yourself, by trusting yourself, by feeling deserving enough of whatever is coming your way. One of the biggest challenges of perfectionism is imposter syndrome, another huge topic. I had that when I was working in Capgemini. I was the very senior leader. I had a massive 200-member team. I was doing deliveries, global clients, big things. But underneath, I always thought, this is just a coincidence. I'm not as good as what I look like. Right? So that imposter syndrome also stops us from just doing something. Now, this talk, for example, if I would have thought I want to give the best talk possible, I would never have landed here. Because that's growth, that's progress, that's how you become better and better. So, again, coming back to the question, how do you kill perfectionism? You kill perfectionism by becoming more secure in who you are, by raising your self-worth, by working and feeling whole and complete just the way you are, not needing validation of people to tell you how good or great you are, right? By
Correct.
feeling deserving of the accolades coming to you. If
Yes.
someone says you've done a great job, so a lot of you said, Deepa, you've given a great presentation. What if I just answer back and say, oh, I know this was not the best. I have delivered better presentations. I thought I would say something else, but I forgot in between. How would you have thought if I came across as that speaker? So it takes a lot of security to say, thank you. I appreciate it. I put in the efforts and I'm glad you liked it. We have so much of problem in taking compliments. We all feel we are not good enough, most of us, right? So it's a journey from that state to a state where even if this fails terribly, I'm still okay. Even if none of you like my presentation, I'm still okay. Like, I don't think I have failed. I just learn I have to do better. So that's a long answer to a short question, because perfectionism in itself is such a huge topic.
Yeah, thanks, Deepa. I think finally you touched up exactly the right point. Allow people to ask you question, allow people to find mistakes, and you accept that. It's easy. I think it was a perfect answer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Arun,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
please go on. Yeah, please go on.
yeah, Deepa. This is a wonderful session. I think it's very good eye opener. It's very step by step, process oriented. Everyone have this aspiration, and this topic is not not unknown to everyone. It's a very known one, but the way the approach you brought in, simple things. What are the accelerators? What are the decelerators? And what is how do you measure growth? Simply superb. I think I loved it. I think we need to redo it again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thank you. Means a lot. Thank you.
Anyone else has a question in the group? Yeah, David, go on, David. Go on, David.
Hi. Thank you, Deepa, for the wonderful session. See, we were talking about growth, success, and learning, and all these things. And I really appreciate, and I think I've gained a lot with the session. And
David?
Some network problems.
David, any problem with your thing? Headset or?
Sorry, you're not going to, you can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go on.
Oh, okay. Just a moment.
David, you're still there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Please go on. Please go on with your question.
Okay. Hi, Deepa. It was a wonderful session, and we were talking about learning, success, and growth, which is much needed in today's world. And see, when we are talking about goals, everyone has personal goals as well as professional goals. Whereas some goals, personal goals, they are coupled with professional goals. When we are talking about these kind of goals, no, we usually kind of plot it against time. When not exactly the way about when we will reach, but about the duration it takes to reach such goals. So what happens is when we find ourselves failing in achieving one point, that becomes a huge milestone when we set our second goal or our third goal. Do you have any tips to tackle the same?
Okay, so I'm just going to rephrase and make sure that I understand your question correctly. So what you're saying, David, is that we set goals and we have personal and professional goals. And on the way to, as we're working towards those goals, if we hit a specific milestone where we feel that we have not done enough or we have not reached where we wanted to reach, that kind of demotivates and takes us away from the whole path of working towards those goals. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but that is with respect to the time. See, for example, we give us a time of 3 months or 6 months. So when we don't achieve it over time, because see, we can rework on everything, whereas the time lost, it's lost.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. And there is a very interesting phenomena called all or none, right? That comes into effect when we talk about this. And I'll just give a very simple example. So I'll tell about myself. So on days when I have planned my exercise in the morning and I do the exercise, I have a fantastic day. I am doing everything. I am productive. I am meeting all the plans and goals that I have set for myself. Right? And on the days when I have an exercise, but I just sleep and I don't do the exercise, I am like, what the hell? Right? The same thing happens with your health goals. So you want to lose 2 kgs, say in the next 1 month, there's a wedding coming and we want to wear something. So we want to lose 2 kgs, right? And we've seen 500 grams dropping. And then one day you go for a party and then you eat something. And the next day the weighing scale has gone up back to where you were. And we are like, go to hell. I don't want to work on my health goals. So that's called the all or none phenomenon. And it happens in our professional goals. Job interviews. We go to 2 job interviews, we get rejected and we say to hell with it. I'm going to stay where I am. Right? So it's very easy to give up when we hit these kind of challenges on the way to goal. Now, there's a lot of research and there's a lot of data that says that if you miss one day, it's fine. Just don't miss it the second day. Right? So you have not done the exercise one day, it's okay, right? Go ahead and restart it the second day or at least as soon as you can. Otherwise, the graph is only like this. This is data, this is research, this is science. And this has again got to do with how we have trained our mind and what our mind understands and how it is again preventing us from doing that task because it is uncomfortable. Now we have found one more excuse to not do it. So it's a big mind game happening all the time. We don't know, but when we start working on our self-awareness, we will see how our mind is tricking us into not meeting our goals.
Exactly.
So my answer is be aware that it happens and then don't miss it for too many days at one go. And if it's a goal, professional goal, then okay, one cycle I didn't get a promotion doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working and stop being productive and stop showing up. Because then you're going to get demoted, not just getting promoted. You're going to get demoted or laid off. So it's important to show up, engage with the moment in front of you by giving 100% of what you can. And that's where we forget about the outcome and we focus on the process. Because if you focus on the process, the outcome will be in your favor, whatever that outcome is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for asking that question. There's just brilliant questions coming up from the audience. So thank you so much for...
There's one question in the chat box from Arun. He said that you will talk about the mind and the brain connection. Can you please give a little brief on this?
Okay. So brain is like an organ of the body. Now, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, this is all I have understood and how I utilize it and leverage it for my own self. So brain is just like we have our hand. So it's just an organ. So brain is the organ. Your mind is what is the main thing, right? And beyond our mind is the awareness. So that's like for the spiritual souls, and I also study spirituality. So if you go further behind your mind, there is someone who's noticing your mind, who's noticing what your mind is saying, what your mind is not saying. That's the awareness. Now, a lot of times we get stuck in one thing. So for example, if I was supposed to deliver something and I have not been able to deliver, I've got a very, very bad feedback on something that I have delivered, my awareness gets stuck in that situation, in that experience, and we lose consciousness that we can shift the focus to somewhere else. Right? So brain is just an organ, and my brain you can see, right? If a surgery is performed, or if a doctor, there's a brain surgery, there is no mind surgery, because the mind is like a space. Okay. From a brain perspective, there is a very, very interesting concept. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's called neuroplasticity, right? Neuroplasticity is when your brain is, hardwired. There are neural patterns in your brain. That is how our habits. So our brain contains the habits, our default emotions, all of those are in our brain in the form of neural patterns. And we have like billions and billions of neural patterns, which are driving our behavior and which are driving our habits. Okay. Now what happens? Neuroplasticity, and this is like the last 3 decades that has this research and has happened, which says that we are not hardwired. Earlier, the understanding was we are hardwired, and that is why people used to say, I can't change. You know what? I'm 70 years old. I can't change now. That's been my life, and that is who I am. That's like a fixed mindset where we think and believe that my mind is, or my brain is basically, it's a learned mechanism, learned tool. I have these default neural patterns and I can't change. So there is no growth if we go by that kind of philosophy. Thankfully, science is proving that it is possible to rewire your brain, and it is possible to create new neural patterns. That is called neuroplasticity. And that happens best when you hit roadblocks. Because when you hit roadblocks and you hit barriers, that's when your mind starts thinking, what do I have to do next? That is when it starts thinking, how do I need to show up differently? What new skills do I need to learn? How can I overcome this obstacle? I'll give you a very simple example of how this works. You go from your home to office every day, right? And you follow the same route. So it could be a 1 hour travel, 1 hour commute, but we can literally listen to everything, talk to our friends, because we know the route. We've been traveling on that route for ages, and we just take that same route every day. That flows from your default neural patterns, the habit that you have of driving on that road. Now, one day you are on that road and suddenly you see a roadblock. There's a pit that has happened. They're building a flyover, whatever is happening, and you are asked to divert. Now you search for new ways to reach your office because that's the same goal. That is exactly what happens in our mind. When you hit a roadblock, you start thinking. Otherwise, 95% of who we are conditioned default behaviors. 95% of what we think every day are repeated thoughts. So if we are thinking repeated thoughts, we are going to show up as the same person. And that is where consciousness and awareness helps us to become different, to learn new skills, to break new pathways, and to create new neural patterns. So that's the difference between brain and mind. I hope that answers the question. Again, I'm not an expert. This is just based on what I have learned, understood, and shared.
Yeah, very much. I think little bit. Yeah, you just given another perspective. I think I'm trying to understand. It's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun. Thank you for asking that question.
Another question in the chat box from Sanjay. Is curious mind and awareness same?
No. Curiosity is a function of the mind. Again, this is based on what I understand. Curiosity is an important skill for growth. It's the ability to ask questions. awareness is a consciousness. Awareness is, for example, if I say this is my hand, right? So when I say this is my hand, my consciousness is aware that I'm talking about my hand. It understands that I am not the hand. It's my awareness of this is being my hand. So that's just the awareness. The awareness is, what are you focusing on? Where is your awareness in the moment? Curiosity is a skill. It's a learned skill. And curiosity is one of the most enabling factors of growth. Just being open to asking questions, because you hear answers and you learn concepts and you learn new things which can just rewire the world for you. So to me, curiosity is a skill. It can be learned. It is, some people have it, some people don't have it. But over a period of time, by focusing, we can get more and more curious. Awareness is a more, I would say, spiritual concept. You know, it's like the consciousness which has that function of awareness.
Yeah, madam, what I asked is conscious mind and awareness same?
No.
What's it?
There's a conscious mind, there is a subconscious mind.
Okay.
Right? And 95% of our mind is subconscious. It consists of your habits, your patterns, your beliefs, your default emotions, your default behaviors. All of that is subconscious.
No, I was just asking the difference between conscious mind and awareness.
It's
because
different. It's
Much
different.
different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we are taking too much of your time, Deepa. We'll have only one last question. Anybody else has a question? Chandra sir, Haripriya, somebody?
Thank you for all the messages on the chat. I'm so happy that it was useful and it has helped you to think differently about growth. And I'm available on LinkedIn. So let me just share some of my, we can also share it, later. But so I have a book. It's on Amazon if you want to read. So this is me and different ways that you can reach out to me. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, I have a website, my book is there, different ways. I'll be happy to connect with all of you on LinkedIn.
Amazing session, Deepa. You had it all going and walk your talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
so
an
much,
absolute
Gopi.
expert in all areas of redefining growth. It was an amazing, inspiring, warm, and motivating session.
Thank you so much. Means a lot.
Excellent
Yeah.
takeaways. Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us on a Sunday morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. We'll stay connected, Deepa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for just being here and giving 2 hours of your Sunday. It means a lot. And I'm so excited that I got to meet all of you and just be here in your presence. So thank you so much. So grateful for this.